right. Thank you for joining us again, and welcome to the second half of TVC Breakfast. Let's talk now about Down syndrome. It's one of the most common types of intellectual disabilities. It's a condition in which a person has an extra copy of chromosome 21. Chromosomes are the small packages of genes in the body's cells which determine how the body forms and functions. Distinct physical signs of Down syndrome are usually present at birth that become more apparent as the baby grows. And some of these, signs are small ears, hands, and feet. Poor muscle tone or loose joints are also some of the features. So the month of October is usually set aside to create awareness on this condition, to promote advocacy and foster inclusion. So that's what we want to talk about now. Joining us via Zoom from the United Kingdom is the Executive Director, Rainbow Down Syndrome Foundation. Tola Makinde is here with us. She joins us from the UK, as said. Thanks a lot for joining us and welcome to TVC Breakfast. Of course, the month of October is winding down. By tomorrow, we'll be bidding farewell to the month. But in terms of maximizing the period, this awareness month, what would you call the takeaways?
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning, everyone. All right, so this month is a very special month, as you've rightly said. And, the whole of the month, from the first to the last day of the month, we've been creating awareness, talking about, what people with Down syndrome are achieving in our community, in our world today, and trying to just, change people's perspective of what Down syndrome is and how they perceive individuals with Down syndrome. So this month, we've been able to create awareness on different topics, starting from the main theme of the World Down Syndrome Day, which was in March 21st, which says "End the Stereotypes." So what we've talked about is what are stereotypes? Just looking at someone and saying, "Oh, this person has Down syndrome," and the person would not be able to learn, or maybe you treat them specially, or maybe you really celebrate their achievement, overly celebrated, that's kind of overly stimulating, because it means that you never really expected anything to come out from someone with Down syndrome. But so what we're trying to say now is that we've been able to tell people that people with Down syndrome are great achievers. They love success and they love people to support them. And we can see that so many individuals with Down syndrome from different parts of the world are already changing the world. They're shifting people's perspectives, and from what we can see, from what we've been able to do, we had a webinar where we had speakers, and we had one of the speakers with Down syndrome from Pennsylvania, United States, to come and talk about what she does, which is a role in a school where she's a high school dietitian, and she just supports students to have their meals. I mean, she's got a job. So what we're trying to tell people is that we want people with Down syndrome to be supported, and because they themselves, because of the way people look at them, they have what we call a learned helplessness. They feel that they cannot achieve as much as what people's expectations placed on them. This month, we've created that awareness all over social media. You'll see different organizations all over the world talking about what people with Down syndrome can do, rather than talk about what they cannot do. Thank you.
Right.
All right. So in talking about what we can do, what we cannot do, we also see that we talk about Down syndrome every October. But after this is done, not much is being talked about as regards Down syndrome and the awareness that we're trying to create. What do you think might be responsible for all of that?
Well, I think it's the common stereotypes still that is responsible for this. Because people with Down syndrome, I'll mention one. For instance, you said in October, we always celebrate Down syndrome Awareness Month. Yes, and that's because it's a global voice. if you get what I mean, and we have no choice. We have to celebrate it. But when it comes to November, December, and every other month in the year, organizations and people supporting people with Down syndrome don't stop supporting them. They don't stop celebrating every day, little wins. They don't stop. And why am I saying they don't stop? Because they are the ones working behind the scene. They are the ones, especially parents, they're the ones that living with they're the ones that have the children with the lived experiences of Down syndrome. And it's a lot from going to the hospital, keeping appointments, treating what's treatable because Down syndrome has got different types of it predisposes individuals to different health challenges.
Yeah.
So what we see is the parents, the people supporting people with Down syndrome, they keep working behind the scenes, and what we are trying to portray is active participation of individuals with this condition. We keep doing that, but the media, the media plays a big role in helping us, helping us portray these people as part of the community, as valued members. But if the media is quiet, then we're quiet because we know October people will listen to us. If you get what I mean, everybody's going to listen to us in October. But other months, it's not like we don't want to celebrate, but if you go, I mean, if you just Google and see what organizations or individuals with Down syndrome or people that support them are doing, you will see that the work is ongoing. It's not something we can stop because Down syndrome is a lifelong condition. And if you ask me, I think the power of media in shaping this perception is very, very important. We need like content creators to be able to represent Down syndrome. Collaborate to ensure a more genuine and inclusive community. And that's what we are working towards, reaching out to people with, people that have the platform. And media is a very strong point. And trust me, after this program, it may go quiet, like you rightly said, but we are still speaking out. We are still talking on behalf of those people, but we are portraying them. We want them to be at the front burner, and that's what we've been doing, putting them at the front burner just to continue to break those stereotypes.
Okay, so speaking to them behind the scenes is one thing, and after October, like we have agreed now, nothing is being said about it, but you say people are doing things behind the scenes. I'm also concerned about awareness creation, because this seems to be paramount in reducing or helping the plight of people living with Down syndrome. How can we further push the awareness to go beyond what it is now? Because if you go on the street and ask people, some people might not even know what Down syndrome is. So how do we push the awareness such that it's not just a month-long thing, it's a global thing? For instance, people wait for periods like International Women's Month. They talk about it before then. So how do we get to the point where people talk about these things before October next year?
So these are real life issues, right? And so there are real life stories as well of people in Nigeria that my organization is supporting and that have Down syndrome that are really capable of working, for instance. And that's one part that is very, very important. Apart from the fact that I am an early interventionist, and I know that once a baby is born, you need to start supporting the child with Down syndrome. And some of those babies are born to young mothers below 30. What I'm going to say is with telling stories, storytelling, maybe like featuring people with Down syndrome in movies in Nigeria, maybe advertisements, maybe like a fashion show, and organizations that have like fashion businesses can actually include them. And this is what we are asking for, that inclusive society, so that every month we are seeing people with Down syndrome like they are just normal people. They're just regular people. They just have that extra chromosome and they have extra abilities, which we are not going to see if we do not involve them in all of these aspects of life, featuring them in movies. Some of them already have what they can do with their hands. They already have business ideas that we can see, that we can see that they will be able to, that would be able to thrive, and support. We can support them along the way to build their own businesses, start their own businesses. We have all those people, but we don't have the funds. We don't have organizations that, look look our way, look their way. I'm speaking on their behalf, and I can imagine because they don't have much words, but they know more than they can say. If you get what I mean, does not mean they cannot even function. Like honestly, and there are some topographical sets skills or tasks that you think they may not be able to do if they're employed, but we've not even given them that chance. We've not even given them that opportunity to see if they would actually fail. And guess what? People that support people with Down syndrome know that they love success. And the way we support them is not to fail. We support them to succeed. We support them to be able to succeed. So definitely they will be able to hold jobs and they will just need guidance. They will need people to coach them. They will need, and because like most likely these jobs will be repetitive, they will do it like easily because that is the way they'll actually learn from repetition. So we need more organizations to come out and support those organizations that create these initiatives and are really really struggling. Like they are really really struggling. Trust me, and that's why I was thinking, okay, if we could get collaboration with maybe content creators, that would make it a common thing. Like so, we don't have to wait till October to celebrate Down Syndrome Awareness Month.
Right. And, well, you've said some of the things that I wanted to ask about. But in terms of, supporting parents, because, from the little research we did, there is also the advocacy for parents of children with the Down syndrome to do as much as possible to make these children engage with the rest of the world rather than seclude them as we find maybe in this part of the world. Tell us about give us some insights in this regard, how parents can be supported to understanding that, like you have said, there's nothing wrong with these children. Okay, yes, they may have a different pace of growth and development, but they are special and they can do so much if given the right kind of support, especially at the home front.
Yes, that's very, very important. And that was why I developed an early intervention kit for parents so that they can be empowered to support their child because they are the child's first advocate, they're the child's first therapist. And you see, the burden is really the early years. And yeah, it goes on because it's a lifelong condition. But what I'm saying the burden is the early years because of the diagnosis that come, the health challenges that come with having Down syndrome. And not all people with Down syndrome would have those health challenges. Parents need support from the beginning, from when their child has been diagnosed. But what do we see happens? What we see happen is the rejection, the family problems, the denial, the ignorance, and you cannot really blame parents. And yes, they need the support, but if they don't if they don't embrace and celebrate their child's differences, how would people accept their child? So as long as the parent has been able to embrace, oh, that this is my child with Down syndrome, and I am going to go all the way with my child to support my child. I think what we need next is how do we get people to support? Because Down syndrome is not a respecter of persons, ethnic, religion, race, or whatever. So some of these children are born into homes that can hardly feed, and then they need to have like a heart surgery. So let's take it up from there. How is the baby going to survive? Before we say, okay, let's start supporting an individual with Down syndrome. The child will want to thrive, but is the environment okay or conducive for the child to thrive? Can the child get all the treatments the child needs to survive? Like the heart surgeries, the adenodial enlargements, and all of that. Can the child get, because if we treat what is treatable early and as they go on in life, they have higher chances of living a better life and with better health outcomes. And that's what we're talking about. The support starts from when the child is born. Early intervention, I think, is the trick to all of this to all of what we're trying to do here. And getting support, parents getting support also can be very, very hard. Sometimes parents have to leave their jobs, their 9 to 5. But then again, if you consider where they're going to finance, all the money they're going to need to support their child, and that may not be their only child, they may not be able to leave their jobs. Some parents may not even be able to go to work, not that they want to leave their jobs, but because the child has an emergency, like the child needs like urgent attention. That happened to me because I'm talking from a lived experience, kind of a scenario where I chose to resign from my 11 years banking career, but not everybody's gonna have to do that or will be able to do that, and so the support we need is for organizations to consider individual CSR organizations to remember that there are people with Down syndrome, and of course, people with Down syndrome to have tendencies to have what we call the dual diagnosis, which is autism coexisting with Down syndrome. And it's quite a lot of challenge for parents, and a lot of them may not be able to speak out. A lot of them are ashamed because people, even their neighbors, don't know they've just had a baby with Down syndrome. So if you ask me for support for parents, I will look at the early years at first. And then when the child grows and the child is done with secondary school and the child cannot write or the child cannot read, and all of these challenges are just everywhere, the child goes back home to sit down. But that's what we're trying to change. We need establishments, we need organizations to look into this. We need the government to look into this as well, because some of these people with Down syndrome, according to research, their strength is reading. Imagine that, according to research, if someone with Down syndrome has the ability to read. So we are not even tapping into this talents, their potentials. We're not harnessing all their potentials. We're not doing enough. That's what I can say. We are not. There's a lot to be done, and then if we do it systematically with instructions, these people are going to thrive. Parents are going to be supported if organizations look the way of NGOs like ours. There's several other organizations that are trying to just make those people have close to a normal life. I think we need support from the public.
All right. So give us a sense. Give us a sense of the kind of offering that you offer. So you're talking about, you're stressing on the need for early intervention. Okay, so a child is diagnosed with having the Down syndrome. What do parents need to do? How do they reach out to you? Are you like across several healthcare centers, hospitals, and the like? How accessible are organizations as Mo Rainbow?
So we are not a mobile. I wanted to use the word clinic. Well, I know what I'm saying when I say clinic, because we need a clinical diagnosis. If somebody calls and says, my child has Down syndrome, sometimes the child does not have Down syndrome. The child has cerebral palsy. But they call, some parents that don't know, they're not well educated, will call every disability Down syndrome. So we have our phone number at LASUS. And I know I used to receive a lot of calls back then. Even the office receives calls. But there were times we wanted to go to these hospitals, go around and support them. But it has to be clinic days where we can see them. But support does not end there. And that's why we were doing home visitation back then. We did that. We're still doing that, home visitation. When we get a call, you know how Lagos is, we get a call, we have to visit the baby and tell the parents, guide the parents, okay, this is an early intervention package. This is what we need to do. Your child needs to go run some tests, like check with a cardiologist. So all those early checks, early blood work, like do your blood work, check if the child has got thyroid function, if the thyroid function is okay. The child needs to see the ophthalmologist even as a baby, because sometimes they have nystagmus, and that's caused by that low tone muscle. So you see the black people starts to move up and down, and it's still the low tone muscle. And the baby is very floppy at birth, And so the parents will know that, they will see that, they may live in denial. But what we are trying to say is that they can reach out to us, we can support them. There's a WhatsApp group where other parents that are raising children with Down syndrome. Some of them have children up to age of 40 years old, 30 something, 20 something, 13 newborns, 1 year old. So we come together there and support each other, because you need to talk to someone that's actually going through what you're going through to be able to feel a bit more comfortable and, accepted, instead of being dejected or rejected, feeling rejected at home. So when they reach out to us, part of what we do is to support them, mentor the parents. So sometimes we have older kids. Some kids have been with some people have been with us for 8 years, and now they've grown. They are 20 something years old. We recently employed one of our student is now a staff, because we realized the guy is multi-talented. And the mom is so happy, because the mom is really not doing, she's not really empowered, like, to even own a business. So we've been supporting some children, like some people like that. Sorry, I always say don't call them children. It's part of what I wanted to talk about today, that we cannot call them children, because they grow. They grow into adults. So we've currently employed him, and he's so happy because he's able to do the task. He's able to do the job. So parents need to look out for organizations, look out for, if you don't cry out, nobody would hear you. So parents can reach out, and then we guide and support them. Though that's not enough, because when it has to do with hospital trips, paying for this, paying for that surgery, we've raised funds for heart surgeries before. It is very, very demanding. This is very, very demanding, because people don't really respond. So those are the challenges.
Right. Well done, Tola Makinde, the Executive Director, More Rainbow Down Syndrome Foundation. We thank you very much for your work. We thank you very much for speaking with us. And we hope that all the support that's needed for these children will be gotten through yours and other agencies. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Thank you. I was going to say all the support needed for those persons.
Persons,
yeah. Because part of what we're trying to change here is, I said before, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right. And when we return from this break, we'll talk about the CJ